Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is an update on the second criminal investigation, including NICOLA Sturgeon. Now, this story is about quite an unknown operation. Everyone's heard the branch forum, but there's another operation called KOPER, K-O-P-E-R, which is looking at possible corporate manslaughter charges against individuals within the Scottish Government due to COVID deaths and how they came about. So this story, I've covered it in the past. You might remember I'd done a podcast some time ago with an NHS whistleblower called Lesley Roberts. Her and other individuals made this criminal complaint over a year and a half ago about things that went on in the NHS and the care sector at the start of the lockdown. So this started an investigation which had been ongoing for some time, and now the Scottish Daily Express have given an update today on where it is. So their headline is Police Scotland and Crown Office in talks over next steps in NICOLA Sturgeon's corporate homicide probe. I'm not actually sure if that's accurate or not. I don't know if it is homicide's even a crime in Scotland. I think it's manslaughter, but corporate homicide's how it's known in a sort of more popular basis. Exclusives. Police Scotland officers have been in contact with NHS whistleblower Lesley Roberts to request further information as part of Operation Corpa probe into care home and workplace COVID deaths. And the story goes on. Police Scotland and the Crown Office are in discussions over the next steps in inquiry into corporate homicide allegations levelled at NICOLA Sturgeon and Jeane Freeman. Campaigners, including whistleblowing ex-nurse Lesley Roberts, have made a report to the cops in Glasgow in March 2023, alleging that the Scottish Government had broken the law in its response to the pandemic. The complaint centres on the infamous decision to release elderly hospital patients untested into care homes, as well as the use of do not resuscitate orders and the safety and I can never get this word out, efficacy of the PPE issued to health and social care workers. For legal reasons, the Scottish Daily Express is unable to go into any further details of the criminal complaint. However, we can reveal that Ms Roberts has provided 2 statements and more than 60 productions of evidence. The investigation has been handled by officers from the COVID-19 National Death Inquiry Team as part of Operation Corpa, the sprawling inquiry set up to examine unavoidable pandemic deaths way back in May 2020. So obviously this isn't the only thing they're looking at. This has been going on since 2-3 months after the lockdown in Scotland. So obviously it's not just this one instant. They're looking at different things, but the bit pertaining to Freeman and Sturgeon is the stuff we've just discussed. SDE, that will be the Scottish Daily Express, understands that Police Scotland detectives have recently been in touch with Miss Roberts requesting more evidence and a third statement after discussions with the Crown Office. Ms Roberts submitted her complaint along with Rab Wilson and Roger Livermore from the Action for Safe and Accountable People's NHS campaign, ASAP NHS as they are known. More than 6,000 COVID deaths across nearly 500 care homes are being examined as part of Operation Corpa, the biggest investigation of deaths in Scottish history. Wow, that's amazing when you think about it, isn't it? Right enough, there's 6,000. It has cost at least £4 million so far. Earlier this year, care sector leaders said it was piling pressure on staff, while families complained about being left in limbo by the long-running probe. Donald McCaskill from the industry body Scottish Care said, "We consider this to be an investigation which unfairly characterised the care home sector and has been disproportionate. We are not seeing the same focus on the deaths in hospital settings." However, the Scottish Daily Express understands that Ms Roberts and others who are working in hospitals and in the wider NHS at the time of the pandemic have given statements as part of the investigation. So although this guy that looks after the care home sector feels they've been unfairly criticised during this process, it does actually look into NHS on a wider scale as well. Ms Roberts from Inverclyde was an infection control link nurse with NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde at the start of the pandemic. She said, "I would add that I am very pleased the Crown are looking for even more information and I welcome that. Whilst I blame those at the top of the government, I also blame the public sector for allowing all this to go on. Once the details come out, it will be a shocking time for Scotland and very hard to digest for so many who lost so much. Whether that will be in their career and professional registration or perhaps their family, I foresee difficult times ahead. We can never be in a situation like this again, and those in senior positions must be accountable for their actions. When we lose moral compass, there is nothing left. We were all vulnerable, some obviously more than others, due to nonsensical guidance from the SNP government and their quest to ignore the law. We understand how upsetting this is for families. The Crown Office and Prosecutor Fiscal Service said it was carrying out an independent professional investigation into COVID deaths in care homes or deaths where the virus was contracted in the course of employment. A spokesperson said professional prosecutors from COPA FS and independent advocate deputies are working with police and other relevant agencies to collate a large amount of information from care homes, employers, NHS and the Scottish Government for examination. Scotland's prosecutors act independently of political interference. Police Scotland spokesperson said, "We understand how upsetting and difficult this is for many families who have lost loved ones as a result of the pandemic. Police Scotland is supporting the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Services review into deaths in care settings. While we continue to gather information, a number of investigations are going on at the request of COP FS. As the investigations are ongoing, it would be inappropriate to comment further." A Scottish Government spokesperson said the Scottish Government's sole focus and intention was to protect the people of Scotland from the harms of the pandemic. It would be inappropriate to comment further on any live investigation, including that of the independent Crown Office and Prosecutor Fiscal Service Operation Corpa. So there we have it. What's that all mean? Well, it means a lot of people died in Scotland, and some people think that a lot of these deaths were avoidable. And the crux of it is sort of threefold. One, the amount of old people who are in hospital, in particularly March 2020 when we all went into lockdown, who get sent from hospitals untested and into care home settings. While they were there was quite a high amount of fatalities in care homes. So the question is, was that because people getting sent from hospitals untested? If you remember back, hospitals did have quite a high amount of COVID in them. So that's number one. Number two was the PPE given to staff, where I've seen evidence to suggest that it was not fit for purpose, and people knew that the stuff we were given, our health professionals and the nurses on the front line, were not safe for the use. They were getting put into settings with PPE that just wouldn't do the job. And the last thing was the do not resuscitate notices used, which again, if that's been an instruction and it's led to unnecessary casualties, then there could be a potential that was criminal as well. So it's very, very unpleasant. We all know somebody who's passed with the virus back in 2020, and a lot of people think that these were avoidable, and that's what COPA FS, the police investigation, will hopefully figure out for us. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and notification button. Give me your comments below. I always like to get involved with them. But most importantly of all, unless you're anybody in the Scottish Government who might have caused untimely deaths, not you.
Everyone else, Have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.